Previously on Clayport, from May 4th, 2025. Fairy Fiasco in a Box, a tale of fae, fakery, and furry feats. The late afternoon sun bathed the outskirts of Clayport in golden warmth, its rays filtering through scattered trees to touch a ramshackle house, its mismatched roof sagging and walls groaning like a weary traveler. It was September 9th, and after 5 days of downtime, the horrible-looking hovel stood as a fragile sanctuary on the town's edge. Beyond the fields and sparse woods, the swamp loomed, its murky expanse close enough to harbor unseen threats. Red, Eric, Aloe, and Umbra rested, unaware that a fiery assault would soon erupt in their dusty yard. Edna's arrival and the Sycamore's gift. After days of rest, the group settled into their routines. Aloe knelt in the garden, his leshy hands coaxing crab-apple bushes and healing shrubs to bear tart fruit, their restorative promise enhancing the hovel's grim facade while polishing a sleek rapier with care. Eric sat cross-legged on a worn bed in the main room, murmuring prayers to Hindam, a faint drool betraying his meditative trance. Upstairs, in the attic's dormer window, Red scribbled at her lap desk, penning notes on Fey lore and a letter to Victor, her eyes darting to a cryptic, dark rock portfolio whose secrets teased her curious mind. Outside, Umbra lounged in a garden tree, her fetchling form dappled by leaves, nibbling a crab-apple, the fairy box tucked securely beneath her cloak, its delicate carvings pulsing faintly with fey magic. The day's calm broke when Red, peering from the dormer, spotted a familiar figure approaching from the Clayport road. Edna, an old gnome spellcaster, her white hair a tangled halo, perched atop a massive capybara whose dark fur glinted in the sunlight, a black-socked rear foot kicking up dust, catching Red's eye with its familiar bulk. "Edna," she called, her voice a bright "You who?" and bounded downstairs, boots thudding on creaky steps, to meet the gnome outside rather than invite her up to the attic's drafty nook. Edna dismounted with a spryness belying her age, waving off Red's enthusiasm with a dry chuckle. "Let me down, Milton," she said, addressing the capybara as she slid to the ground, easing onto a weathered bench at the outdoor tables. Milton flopped beside her with a contented grunt that stirred the grass, his tail swishing lazily. Red called the group together. Aloe brushed dirt from his bark-like skin, his leafy eyes curious. Umbra dropped lightly from her tree, her shadowy presence wary, fingers brushing the fairy box. But Eric, roused from his prayers to Hindam, murmured, "Sweet hell," under his breath as he realized Edna had arrived, his annoyance flaring. Wiping drool from his chin, he scowled, his irritation rooted in Edna's past electrocution and her relentless critical nonsense, though he bit his tongue, slouching against the house with folded arms. Once seated, Edna leaned forward, her cane propped against the bench, and fixed the group with a piercing gaze. Red, eager to please, fumbled through their meager stores to play hostess. "Water, spirits, or tea," she offered, producing a salvaged pouch of wilted leaves with a nervous laugh. Edna's nose wrinkled, her gaze piercing. "Tea, girl, but make it quick," she said, her tone a blend of command and tease, her cane tapping Milton's flank as he nibbled a nearby weed. Red brewed the tea, poorly, the leaves steeping into a murky, bitter brew, and served it as the group settled around the tables, the distant swamp's chorus of insects a faint backdrop. Milton's munching filled the pauses, and Edna murmured to him, "Don't eat their garden, you glutton." "So, what have you children been up to?" She asked, her voice laced with curiosity and a hint of challenge. Prompted by Edna's question, Red sparked conversation, sharing tales of a cult in Ogul sabotaging a lighthouse for sacrifices to Ush. Her voice animated as she mimicked the cultists' chants and their clash under the Giersch Auditorium. Edna leaned forward, her cane tapping in rhythm with her thoughts. "That's juicy, Red, but I've got better," she said, her grin sly, eyes glinting with mischief. "There's a creature in my swamp. Bonebreaker, I think it's called, though I ain't certain. Ugly thing, bigger than Milton here. You've met it before, a couple quests back. Slipped right under the noses of those who'd hunt it, hiding in my tree stump's guest room. My spells keep him safe as a babe in a cradle." She leaned in and whispered, "And he owes me for it." The group exchanged confused glances. The Bonebreaker's name, a shadowy, monstrous entity from a past encounter, hanging heavy. Aloe's leaves rustled, intrigued, but Umbra's eyes narrowed, sensing a deeper game. Eric's scowl deepened, his muttered, "Great," another of her pets, barely audible, his irritation flaring at Edna's penchant for dangerous allies. Edna's gossip shifted to Corvus, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper as she sipped the tea and grimaced. "This is swill, girl, barely fit for Milton's trough," she said, setting the cup down with a clink. "Now, where was I? Oh yes, that dashing gentleman, Corvus, the dark shaft, thinks he can flirt with me. Keeps showing up with his pretty words and those shifting faces. Young one day, old the next. I've been flirting back, mind you." She chuckled, her laughter like dry leaves. Told him, "Corvus, I'm too old for your games, but I'll keep you as a friend." He took it well enough, but he's crafty. Eric rolled his eyes. "Right, I'm sure that's how it went down," he muttered. "Finds you useful, he does. Just as I do." Edna continued, her gaze sweeping the group, lingering on Umbra's shadowed form. The words carried weight, a strong suggestion to visit Corvus, though no formal task was given. Red, sensing the house's vulnerability, pressed Edna for more details about its exposure. "It's so open out here, isn't it? Are we safe from Fey tricks?" she asked, her voice earnest, hoping to glean protective insights. Edna's eyes narrowed, her tone sharp. "Being needy is not attractive on a young woman, Red. Figure it out yourself. You've got the brains for it," she snapped, offering only tips on brewing better tea instead. Red flushed, her diplomatic efforts faltering, but her resolve hardened, pondering the house's defenses against threats from the nearby swamp. Eric rolled his eyes, muttering under his breath, always with the riddles. His irritation clear but unspoken to avoid Edna's ire. When Eric's sarcasm slipped out, Edna smirked, admitting she was being coy but offering no further clarity. Before departing for a dinner in a kraal, Edna rose, steadying herself on Milton's broad back as she remounted. "This place is a sieve, children, too open to trouble," she said, her voice low, almost a warning. She shuffled to the house's corner, Milton trailing like a loyal shadow, and drew a seed from her satchel. "Let's give this shack some bones," she murmured, her fingers weaving a spell that hummed with primal energy. The ground trembled, and a sprout erupted, swelling into a towering sycamore over minutes, its branches fusing with the house's walls, roots anchoring it like a living temple, shoring up the hobble's frail frame. The wood groaned, as if sighing in relief, and Edna dusted her hands. "It's a start. Keep it alive, and it might keep you alive," she said, her tone gruff but warm. As she urged Milton down the Clayport road, Eric muttered, "Whatever," under his breath, his annoyance spilling out. From a distance, Edna's voice rang back sharp and mocking. "I can still hear you. Love you too, Eric. Your father would be so proud." Eric's face reddened, his jaw tightening at her taunt, but Milton's hooves kicked up dust, and her silhouette soon vanished. Edna's parting shot at Red's tea lingered. "Learn to brew, girl, or stick to water." The group stood in the sycamore's shade, its presence both comfort and warning. Downtime and Sprigjack. Whispers. The group returned to their tasks. Red climbed back to the attic, resuming her fey notes and musings over the dark rock portfolio. Aloe climbed the new sycamore, inspecting its branches while tending his healing shrubs below. Eric settled back into his bedroom, switching from prayers to Hindarm to journaling his thoughts, his mood soured by Edna's taunt. Umbra retreated to the basement, sulking and checking on the fairy box, its faint glow a reminder of Corvus's schemes. She wondered, would he uphold his agreement? The Quickling Caper. Evening's calm was shattered when Aloe, perched in the sycamore, glimpsed movement in the woods behind the house. Before he could pinpoint it, an alchemist fire arced from the trees, striking the ground in front of the house with a fiery burst, igniting the grass. "Fire!" Aloe cried, alerting the others, his eyes scanning the woods for the culprit. Red, in the attic, summoned Pick, her Sprigjack wood fae, its twiggy form springing to life. Eric, roused from journaling, leapt off his bed, grabbed his crossbow from the corner, and bolted toward the back door as the fire spread across the backyard. Aloe clambered onto the roof, seeking a better vantage, while Umbra, in the basement, heard the ruckus above. A redcap emerged from the woods, hurling another alchemist fire that struck Eric in the back doorway, setting his clothes ablaze. The redcap summoned a massive dire wolverine, both charging toward the house. Aloe cast Rousing Splash, granting Eric a temporary healing boon to douse the flames, then leapt athletically from the roof to the ground. A second redcap appeared at the wood's edge, its cap glowing a dark blood red. Red peered out the attic window, casting Hypnotize on the first red cap, its swirling colors entrancing it. "What pretty colors," it mumbled, lazily swinging its halberd in the air. Pick darted to the window, hiding under the sill. Eric, flames extinguished, raised his crossbow, devised a stratagem, and fired 2 bolts into the entranced redcap, wounding it. Meanwhile, in the basement, 2 quicklings erupted from the well. "Oh shit!" one yelped upon seeing Umbra, clutching the fairy box. One panicked, sprinting up the stairs to the attic, only to find Red staring. "Oh shit," it repeated. Umbra swiftly covered the well with plywood and rocks, shouting, "There's people coming out of the well." The second redcap charged Aloe, hurling an alchemist fire that struck him, setting the house's side ablaze. Aloe darted through the wolverines and redcaps, putting distance between them, and began to hunt prey on the second redcap before bashing it with his hammer. The group noticed the redcaps regenerating rapidly. "Me panic blood swimmer!" the redcap screamed, striking Aloe with its halberd but missing a kick. Red psychically messaged Umbra, updating her on the backyard chaos and the attic quickling. "No shit," Umbra replied. Red sustained her hypnotic cloud, while Pick shot splinters at a wolverine, missing. Eric reloaded his crossbow and activated his feather token balloon as a wolverine snapped at him and Aloe. In the basement, the second quickling stabbed Umbra with a poisoned blade before fleeing upstairs to join its companion. Umbra, slowed by the poison, moved lethargically after it. The hypnotized redcap broke free, and Aloe, grazed by another alchemist fire from the second redcap screaming "Burn!" escaped around the house to critically heal himself. Red moved to the window, casting Restore Mind to clear Eric's thoughts. Pick shot splinters at the redcap attacking Eric, then ran around the house screaming, "Aloe's been hit again!" Eric, wanting to escape the too close for comfort situation, activated his new magic balloon, which lifted him to the roof after a few seconds. He jumped off, fired at a redcap, but missed. Umbra stumbled from the basement, lashing her whip at a redcap but missing, then shouted at a wolverine, "Get out of here! Shoo!" A redcap kicked her to the ground, roaring, "I am Grog Blood Drinker. I'm going to bathe in your—" "Wait, that's what she does. I'll drink your blood. Ha ha." Red restored Aloe's mind from the window, shouting, "Pick, get him!" Pick slung splinters at the redcap. Eric fired his crossbow, critically hitting the first redcap. "Curses!" it screamed, collapsing dead. He then shot a wolverine, grazing it. Aloe, rounding the corner, recalled nature's law. Redcaps lose regeneration without their blood-soaked hats, are vulnerable to cold iron, and are repulsed by divine symbols. The quicklings surrounded Ombras in the doorway, snatching the fairy box from her possession. "We got it! We got it! We got it! Now leave the decoy!" They screamed, tossing a poorly copied version of the fairy box onto her and sprinting toward the woods, chanting, "We got it! We got it! Hee hee!" Ombra yelled, "They took my fucking box!" and got up to give chase. The remaining redcaps screamed, "We can burn the house down now," hurling an alchemist fire at the back door. Aloe cast a splash spell to douse the flames and joined the pursuit of the quicklings. Red released Pick, moved to the window, and cast Hypnotize on the fleeing foes. Eric took out a 50-foot rope from his pack, tied it to a crossbow bolt, fired, and hit the quickling with the box, yelling, "Grab the rope," to Ombra. Aloe advanced, firing his crossbow with Red's guidance. Red tried to speed Ombra psychically, sent a message about redcap weaknesses, and dropped her hypnotic cloud. Eric shot the quickling again, causing it to drop the box. Then Feather fell to the ground. Ombra grappled the other quickling, who shouted, "Let me go! Let me go! You have your box!" It stabbed her and escaped, yelling, "Get me the box!" The redcaps scrambled to look for the fallen box. Aloe kept advancing, and Red summoned Zip, her Malixi Fae, who ate fruit and then zipped into the fray on a sugar high. Eric, having Feather fallen to the ground, leapt onto a wolverine's back, steering it toward the dropped box. Ombra, holding the fake box, taunted, "I already stole it back, dumbass." The quickling cursed, "Fuck, how could you let her get the box back, Zisp?" slashing at her twice. Aloe bashed the redcap with his buckler, killing it, and flanked the quickling fighting Ombra. At the house, Red used Eric's balloon to float from the window, guiding Zip to search for the box. Eric rode the wolverine, shouting, "Yee-haw!" Ombra demoralized the redcap, ripping off its hat. "You can't have my box!" as it kicked her twice and swung, missing as she rolled away. Aloe bludgeoned with his buckler. Red advanced, and Zip cast an illusion of honey, luring one wolverine into the woods. Eric jumped off the wolverine and started searching for the box. Ombra healed with magic gloves and tripped the redcap with her whip. The second wolverine grabbed Eric, and the redcap missed another shot at Ombra. Aloe declared, "I intend to kill you right now," and struck the redcap dead with his cold iron buckler. The remaining wolverine fled, and Eric found the fairy box, holding it aloft. "I found it," he shouted, ensuring Ombra's box was secure. Post-battle, the Fae's fickle council. The dust settled in the scorched yard, the sycamore's leaves whispering softly as twilight crept over Clayport's outskirts. The house stood defiant, its walls singed but unbowed, the new sycamore's roots a silent sentinel. The quickling's assault had left a trail of chaos, smoldering grass, splintered wood, and the fallen bodies of two redcaps, their blood-soaked hats now lifeless. Aloe, his leshy bark still dusted with ash, knelt beside the corpses, his deft hands searching for clues. Two short swords, their edges nicked, and two halberds, heavy with cruel intent, lay among the remains. No insignia, no trinkets, no hint of their master's purpose, only the cold iron of their weapons, now useless. He rose, shaking his head, his leafy eyes scanning the woods for lingering threats, the swamp's distant croaks a faint warning. Nearby, Eric, his crossbow slung over his shoulder, pried open the fairy box with a cautious hand, its delicate carvings pulsing faintly under the fading sun. The relic, safely recovered from the quickling's grasp, hummed with fey magic, its glow casting fleeting shadows on his weathered face. "Are you guys okay? Did you feel any of that?" he asked, his voice gruff, tinged with the exhaustion of battle and his usual skepticism of fey antics. A high-pitched voice chirped from within, sharp and indignant, like a bell struck too hard. "Feel, yes, I have emotions," it declared, the words dripping with affronted pride. Eric's eyes rolled skyward, a groan escaping his lips as he thrust the box toward Umbra, who stood catching her breath, her fetchling shadows coiling like smoke. "Take this nonsense," he muttered, stalking off to retrieve stray crossbow bolts, his boots kicking up dust with each irritated step. Umbra clutched the fairy box, its warmth reassuring against her palm, but Red, ever the diplomat, leaned in, her auburn hair catching the last rays of daylight. "Oh, hello. Yes, I have a question," she said, her tone bright yet coaxing, as if addressing mischievous children. The box vibrated, and another fey voice piped up, eager and silvery. "Do you have any work for us?" it asked, the words bubbling with barely contained excitement. Red's lips curved into a knowing smile, her psychic senses attuned to the fey's fickle nature. "Yes," she replied, her voice lilting. "Do you have any ability to research quicklings in there?" "Research?" The first fey's voice spiked, affronted, as if Red had suggested they scrub floors. "We don't research. We know." The declaration rang with such haughty certainty that Umbra's eyebrows shot up, her shadowed gaze flicking to Red in amusement. "Oh, wonderful," Red said, humoring them with a theatrical clap, her eyes twinkling with mischief. "So what do you know?" A second fey chimed in, its voice brimming with misplaced confidence. "They're fast," it proclaimed. "We're gonna say that they're fast." Red's smile faltered, though her tone remained patient. "I know they're fast, sweetie. Do you know who they might be working for?" She held up the pomegranate coin, its etched seeds glinting faintly, a relic from a prior fey encounter. "This one." The first fey's voice stretched into a dramatic wail. "No, that's the Everbloom," it cried, as if Red had insulted its lineage. Before Red could press further, the second fey interjected, its tone suddenly sheepish. "I'm not sure the Quick Queen is real. I think we just made that up to sound real." Umbra's jaw dropped, her shadowed features sharpening with indignation. "Wait a minute, what else have you made up?" she demanded, her voice cutting through the yard's stillness. The box hummed, and a flurry of whispered giggles erupted within, like wind chimes caught in a storm. The Fae conferred in hushed, rapid tones, their voices overlapping in a chaotic symphony. Then, one piped up loudly, as if shouting over its companions. "We can't tell the color of her hair because it moves around too fast." Umbra and Red exchanged puzzled glances, their expressions a mix of exasperation and wary amusement. The Fae's whispers resumed, only to culminate in a triumphant proclamation. "We're going to workshop this." Red, undeterred by their flippancy, seized the moment. "Wait," she called, her voice warm but firm, dangling a carrot for the fickle Fae. "I have a request, and I'll bring you some extra fun anchor stationery or something next time. But when you are search the Quick Queen's realm, could you make sure there's a really nice inn there? One with a proper bathtub, so if we find ourselves there, we can rest in style." Eric, stooping to pluck a bolt from the grass, let out a theatrical groan, his patience for Fae nonsense long exhausted. "You're bargaining for bathtubs now," he muttered, shaking his head. The Fae, however, were delighted. "Good facilities?" one asked, its voice quivering with glee as if envisioning marble tubs and gilded faucets. "Yes," Red responded, her enthusiasm infectious despite the absurdity. The second Fae's tone turned sly, a hint of Fae trickery creeping in. "And if you eat the food, you can never leave," it declared, the words dripping with mischievous portent. Umbra's eyes narrowed, her swashbuckler's instincts flaring. "Great to know," she quipped, her voice dry as the scorched grass beneath her boots. Red, unfazed, waved a hand dismissively. "Sure, all I need is a good bath," she said, her grin unyielding. "And we'll call it the Cali Inn." The first Fae chimed in, its voice bursting with pride as if naming a grand palace. The box vibrated with their giggles, the sound like a cascade of tiny bells. "Okay then, good. Thank you so much," Red said, her tone a blend of gratitude and gentle dismissal. With a soft click, she closed the lid, the fairy box's glow dimming as the Fae's chatter faded into silence. She straightened, brushing a lock of hair from her face, and turned to the group, her eyes alight with purpose. "I think we should go see Corvus," she declared, her voice ringing with conviction, the swamp's distant murmurs underscoring the weight of her words. The path to the Viridian emergence beckoned, and with it, the mysteries of the night glade. The Frostling's Call. The Quickling assault laid bare the house's fragility, its scorched walls and boarded-up well a stark testament to its vulnerability. Aloe, his leshy form still singed, descended into the basement well with dark vision goggles, seeking the Fae portal that had unleashed the Quicklings. The murky depths revealed only stagnant water and silt, and with time pressing, the group sealed the well with plywood and rocks, their hammers echoing in the dusk. The fairy box, now secure in Umbra's cloak, was a magnet for Fae trouble, and Edna's warning, "This place is a sieve, too open to trouble," rang in their ears. They had to reach Corvus before more enemies struck. Within the hour, they packed light, crossbows, rapiers, and spell components, moving with urgency as the swamp's shadows lengthened, their footsteps quick on creaking floorboards. As they stepped into the dusty yard, preparing to tread the path toward the Viridian emergence, the air grew heavy, and a chill prickled their skin. Before them, right outside the house at the head of the forest path, a frostling materialized, its form a wispy veil of frost, faceless yet radiating an eerie sentience. Its edges shimmered like shattered glass, catching the fading sunlight in prismatic glints, and its presence leached warmth from the air, frosting the grass in delicate spirals that crunched underfoot. The sycamore's branches creaked behind them, as if wary of the Fae's aura, and the swamp's distant hum stilled, leaving an unnatural silence. Umbra, driven by her swashbuckler's resolve and the weight of Corvus's dream demand for the fairy box, acted swiftly. She slipped slightly ahead of the group, her fetchling shadows melding with the underbrush as she skirted the frostling's shimmering form. With a deft slink maneuver, she bypassed the Fae, moving silently into the half-ash forest. The fairy box clutched tight. Her eyes darted for signs of ambush, her haste a silent vow to deliver the box, or a fake to secure her boon. The Quickling's attack, coupled with the box Fae's dubious tales of a quick queen, had heightened her suspicion of rival Fae, perhaps tied to Bonebreaker, and she pressed on her merry way, a shadow among the ferns. The rest of the party, Red, Eric, and Aloe, faced the Frostling, its presence both mesmerizing and unsettling. Eric tightened his grip on his crossbow, his investigator's instincts flaring. His "that's odd" feet noted the frost patterns curling unnaturally toward the path, hinting at Fae magic, while his watchful halfling trait scanned for enchanted threats. "This better not be another trick," he muttered, his old ghoul tavern tales warning of Fae guile. Aloe's leaves quivered, sensing a pulse of first-world energy in the frostling's aura, his rapier at the ready as he hummed a druidic chant to ground himself against the chill. Red, her psychic senses attuned, felt a ripple of ancient intent, her first-world lore recognizing the frostling as a herald of Corvus's court. "It's a messenger," she whispered, her voice steady despite the frost nipping at her fingertips. "We need to hear it out." Red stepped forward, her trust in Fae etiquette outweighing caution. She offered her forehead, and the frostling's touch was a fleeting sting, like snow on bare skin. A feminine voice echoed in her mind, speaking in ancient Talishan, a tongue Red knew from her studies. "Corvus, the dark shaft, bids you enter his stronghold in the night glade," it intoned, each syllable crystalline and deliberate, resonating like a bell in a silent hall. "For 3 days you shall abide as guests, free of debt from food or shelter. Come swiftly, for the path is watched, and shadows stir beyond the emergence. The message carried a dual edge, promise and peril, suggesting a rare fey bargain. Hospitality without obligation, perhaps through a Cali Inn where abstaining from consumption avoided entrapment. Yet the warning of shadows hinted at lurking threats, possibly tied to the ambush they'd narrowly avoided. Red's eyes widened, her psychic knack, sense allies, reaching out to Ambra's fleeting presence in the forest ahead. She relayed the message, her voice a mental whisper. Ambra, Corvus invites us safely. 3 days, no debt. Hurry to the emergence, we're right behind. Ambra's shadowed form paused briefly, her nod barely discernible through the underbrush. Then she pressed onward, her grip on the ferry box unyielding. Eric, skeptical of fey promises, snorted softly. No debt? That's a new one. Bet there's a catch, he said, his mind already probing for hidden motives, recalling Edna's coy suggestion to visit Corvus. Aloe, his bark-like skin prickling, murmured, the glade's alive with intent. This frostling's no liar, but it's not telling us everything. His druidic senses caught a faint echo of the sycamore's protective magic, a distant anchor in the fey-touched air. The frostling lingered, its form pulsing faintly, as if awaiting a response. Red, drawing on her fey etiquette, bowed slightly, her glamorized spell subtly enhancing her presence. We accept the invitation and will come swiftly, she said, her voice firm yet respectful, mindful of fey protocols where words could bind. The frostling shimmered, its form fracturing into motes of frost that drifted toward the forest path, leaving a glittering trail that seemed to guide their way. The air warmed slightly, but a weight remained. Eric's intuition whispered of unseen eyes, perhaps the shadows the frostling warned of, lurking in the swamp's depths. The party hastened after Ambra, the path to the Viridian emergence winding through the half-ash forest. Gnarled trees loomed, their branches whispering secrets in the twilight, and the scent of moss and decay hung heavy, hinting at the swamp's nearness. Ambra's slight lead kept her just out of sight, a shadow flitting through the ferns, her swashbuckler's grace ensuring she'd reach the clearing first. Red, Eric, and Aloe moved as one, their steps quickened by the frostling's warning. The forest's hum grew faint, fireflies dancing like errant stars, guiding them toward the sacred clearing. The Viridian emergence emerged from the gloom, a hallowed circle ringed by druidic standing stones, their moss-covered surfaces etched with runes that glowed faintly under the starlight. This was a holy place, a safe haven where they had once met Corvus, its stones a conduit to the first world. Ambra awaited them, her form half hidden by a stone's shadow, the ferry box secure, her eyes scanning the tree line for threats. As night fell, the group gathered in the clearing, the air thrumming with primal energy. Red led the song, her voice weaving Corvus's haunting melody, taught in a prior encounter, a summons that rang like a doorbell across plains. Eric joined, his baritone steady despite his doubts, while Aloe's earthy tones grounded the harmony. Ambra hummed softly, her focus on the box, its pulse syncing with the runes. The stones flared, their runes blazing with emerald light, and the air shimmered as a portal tore open, its edges rippling like liquid starlight. Beyond lay the night glade, Corvus's realm, its ethereal allure, a tapestry of luminescent flora and aurora-streaked skies. The stronghold's silhouette beckoned, its jet-black spires glinting faintly. Ambra stepped forward, her swashbuckler poise masking the tension of her mission, deliver the fairy box to fulfill her boon. Red, guided by lore and Edna's implied task, felt the weight of unseen stakes, perhaps tied to Bonebreaker or the box's power. Aloe, senses attuned to the glade's pulse, gripped his rapier, ready for what lay ahead. Eric, basking in his Wolverine-riding triumph, shouldered his crossbow, his investigator's mind already probing the mysteries of Corvus's court. The sycamore's distant protection lingered in their thoughts, a guardian and warning as the night glade's shimmering threshold promised both refuge and peril. This concludes the previously on Clayport from May 4th, 2025.